This is the LG UltraGear 32GS60QC, and at the time of making this video, this costs just 21,000 rupees, and for that you get a 32-inch 2K 180Hz gaming monitor. And for that price, is it worth it? Let's find out. Now let's start this review with the display itself. Now I've tested this monitor not only for gaming, but I've also tested it for a variety of things like, daily workflows, photo editing, video editing, 3D workflows, things like that. I've tested out throughout a lot of categories. So if you're someone apart from a gamer, you will have a clear idea if you should buy this monitor or not. But since this is a gaming monitor, let's start with the gaming itself. Now this is a 32-inch 180Hz display with a gentle 1000-hour curve. Now that actually gives a very immersive experience. And to be honest, this here is my very first big screen curved monitor. So I actually enjoyed gaming on this. Now when it comes to panel type, this here is a VA panel. So with VA panels, you get higher contrast. And hence when it comes to gaming or watching movies or videos, the blacks are much deeper and rich. Of course, it's not going to be like your OLEDs, but it's definitely higher in contrast when compared to IPS. So when it comes to gaming and things like that, the dark areas are actually dark rather than having a faded black look. So when it comes to the visual part of gaming, it's actually much more pleasant on this monitor. But just because it is visually appealing doesn't mean it doesn't have ghosting, because when you take a look at the UFO test, you can actually notice some visible ghosting, especially with a darker background. And that is actually one of the properties of a VA panel, because the pixels take a lot of time to refresh, so you will get that smearing effect called as ghosting. Now in casual games like, say GTA 5 or some racing game, you really won't notice that much. But if you are a very competitive gamer, you play fast-paced games like CSGO or Valorant or Overwatch, you will actually notice this smearing effect. Now sometimes you might not notice it that much, but it is definitely there. But for regular casual gamers, is it a huge deal breaker? Probably not, but if you are actually a competitive gamer and you are just getting started, then this might be an issue. The 180Hz refresh rate and the 2K resolution sure does deliver a really good visual experience, and that coupled with AMD FreeSync, you really won't notice that much of screen tearing. Now when it solely comes to gaming, for casual gaming, this monitor is definitely fine. But if you are a super competitive gamer and in fast-paced titles, this monitor is definitely not built for that. I would rather say go with something with an IPS panel or OLED if you have the money. Now apart from gaming, when you take a look at everyday workflows or color accurate work, then this monitor is kind of a very mixed bag. So let me explain. So like I previously mentioned, this has higher contrast than an IPS panel, and that is definitely good. But that is only when you're watching it alone. Tag along some of your friends or family and they will have a very bad viewing experience, because on VA panels, viewing angles are very bad. And you will notice that immediately as soon as you set this up. Now when it comes to backlight bleed, there is actually not much, and I think that's actually pretty good. And I've noticed two things with this monitor. First, the colors on this panel are decent. Now editing videos and photos are actually manageable, but you will actually have to verify if the colors are accurate or not before finalizing it. So that is one extra step. Now with the Dell UltraSharp, of course, it is an expensive monitor, but still I had the peace of mind to, confidently upload the video or do anything color accurate without any worries. But with this, I had to do one extra step. So the colors are good, but not the best. But when it comes to the color uniformity across the entire display, it's surprisingly good. I didn't find any hotspots or anything like that. Now the second thing I've noticed is that with this curved monitor, adjusting fine parameters, say in videos or in photo editing software, is that the perspective is kind of a hassle to deal with. Now, for example, like say aligning an object to a certain position might be a little off due to the curve, and this is something I've personally felt kind of annoying. But of course, this might not be an experience that everyone has. So if you have a curved monitor and feel the same, definitely let me know. When it comes to the HDR performance, it's again decent, but one thing I've noticed is that when you enable HDR, the saturation goes low. Now I really don't like that, so this again is not meant for long-term HDR content consumption. But one thing that I'm glad is that at 32 inches, they at least gave a 2K display. Of course, 4K would have been much sharper, but 2K is fine. So when you sit at a decent distance from the monitor, the texts are sharp and fine. Just don't go pixel peeping. Then you will notice some fuzziness and you can see the pixels, but other than that, it's totally fine. And last but not least, when it comes to the brightness, this here is decently bright, especially if you're using it indoors without any windows directly behind you, then it should be totally fine. And this here is a matte display. So overall, when it comes to the display, I would give it somewhere around a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. And that's because two things that really matter to me are not the best with this monitor. First, the viewing angle is definitely bad, and second, you will definitely experience ghosting, especially in fast-paced games. But both of these are actually properties of a VA panel, so that's something we need to know is coming when we are going to purchase this. So finally, when it comes to the display, now if you are a casual gamer, you play open world games, adventure games, things like that, then this gaming monitor is absolutely fantastic for that. But if you are a competitive gamer, a esports enthusiast, then this monitor isn't for you. I would rather say go with an IPS monitor or an OLED monitor if you have the money. Now for casual everyday use, office work and web browsing, this is good for that. But when it comes to productivity stuff like color accurate work, then I would really not go with this. There are much better 32-inch IPS panels with the same resolution for around the same price, so I would prefer you go with that. Now with the display addressed, let's talk about all the other things. First up, I love the build quality of this monitor. Now my table definitely isn't the most stable one, but despite having this monitor on that, the wobble is super minimal. And I also love the fact that the stand doesn't take up much space. Now when it comes to the port selection, it is quite decent with HDMI 2.0 and DisplayPort 1.4, but I would have loved to see a USB-C port with PD charging support. And a quick note, if you want the full 180Hz refresh rate, definitely use the DisplayPort cable. If you use HDMI, you are capped at 144Hz. Now when it comes to the on-screen display controls, it's quite good. It has all the basic features laid out and it is easy to navigate. So it's quite good. Nothing, fancy, but just gets the work done. Now when you take it out of the box, you might have to fiddle around with the color temperature because it is not the most perfect. So make sure you select the one that is most ideal for you. Now I have few gripes with this monitor, and the first thing is that this has no speakers. So that is quite a bummer. And second, I really wish there was some kind of cable management here, but sadly it's not there. So yeah, that is another gripe. And finally, there's only tilt here, no height adjustability. So if you have a fixed table, then get ready to adjust your chair height up and down. But if you have a motorized sit stand desk, then that would be beneficial. But yeah, there's no height adjust. Really wish it was there. And with that said, this here is my review of the LG 32GS60QC. Now I bought this for around 24,000 rupees, and right now you can actually get it for 21,000, and for that price, is it worth it? And my answer would be, it's not for everyone. Now if you are a huge gamer, like you spend majority of your time gaming, but not in esports, but in casual games like GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption, and any newer casual games which are like adventure or open world, then this gaming monitor is amazing for you. But if you are someone who's into really fast-paced games like CSGO, Valorant, Overwatch, then I would not recommend this. Because especially if you are an enthusiast, you will actually notice ghosting, that smearing effect, and that is not ideal for anyone who wants a clear and accurate shot. Now for everyday work purposes like casual work, web browsing, this monitor will definitely be good. But remember, this has poor viewing angles, and if you are a person who brings your family and friends together a lot to watch content on this, then they are not going to enjoy it. So remember that. But if that's not the case and you are okay with that, then this monitor should be good for everyday work. And finally, if you're someone who is a creative producer, like you make videos, you edit photos, 3D workflows, then I would really suggest not to go with this. Even though the contrast is higher, it's not super color accurate like that of an IPS monitor, and the curve is definitely not ideal, especially when you're aligning things here and there in your software. So I would prefer go with a flat IPS high resolution monitor. In fact, for nearly the same price, you actually get an LG 4K IPS monitor. I'll have it linked below, and that would be much better for your profession. And with that said, this monitor is good, but definitely not for everyone. And for most, you would be better off going with a high resolution IPS monitor. So thanks for watching, and this here is Suman signing off once again. Catch you later.